Carson City Culture and Tourism Authority Board of Director meeting. It's Monday, January 9th, 2023 at 4 o'clock, and we're in the Carson City Community Center at the Robert Bob Kroll Boardroom. With that, can I get a roll call?
Mike Jones,
Here.
Steve Reynolds, Bobby Rader,
Here.
Stacy Giomi,
Here.
and Steve Kim.
Present.
We have a quorum.
If I could ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I'll ask for public comment. The public is invited to comment on and discuss any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of this public body. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on for item 5, possible action, approval of minutes for the December 12th, 2022 CTA board meeting. I'm sorry, yeah, December 12th, 2022. Any comments, changes, corrections to the minutes of the last meeting that anyone would like to see?
Move for approval of the minutes.
Oops.
Move for approval of the minutes.
I'll still second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, the motion passes. With that, we'll move on to item 8, the consent agenda. Would any member of the public like any individual item from the consent agenda pulled for individual review? Seeing none, any board member like any individual item pulled for review? Seeing none, if I can get a motion?
Move for approval of the consent agenda.
Once again, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. That takes us on to item
David,
9.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
I thought it was Bobby Rader.
Stacy, I think, seconded, is who I heard.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Item 9, discussion and possible action regarding the election of a chairperson, vice chairperson, secretary, and treasurer for the Carson City Culture and Tourism Board of Directors. We're doing this a little differently, all under one motion this year. So I'll open up with any discussion or nominations for chairperson at this time.
Mr. Chair, I would like to move that we nominate yourself as chair, Bobby as vice chair, and Chris as secretary treasurer.
Can you hear? I'm sorry, Stacy, I missed that.
Stacy, I'll just reiterate what you said, if that's okay, because you're very low coming through on the volume. Stacy recommended you as the chair, Mike, Bobby as the vice chair, and Chris as the treasurer, secretary treasurer.
Any comments or discussion about the motion? If not, if I could get a motion.
That was my motion.
Oh, it was a comment and a motion. I like that.
Yeah, it wasn't,
So if I
it
could get
wasn't a comment at all. It was only a motion.
a second, then.
Well, I will second that motion, Steve.
All right. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, then motion passes. On to item 10 for possible action, discussion, and possible action regarding the annual performance review of David Peterson, Culture and Tourism Authority Executive Director. the review of the past objectives and adoption of future objectives for the executive director and approval of an overall rating of his performance over the past year. Chris, will you do the staff summary for this item?
So on December 17th of 2018, the CTA Board appointed David Peterson to serve as the Executive Director for the CTA. Pursuant to NRS 244A-619, CTA is authorized to hire and retain officers. As such, any annual performance review of such officers must be done by the CTA Board during a public meeting. Mr. Peterson was provided notice of the annual performance review on December 6, 2022. Per the CTA employee policies and procedures, employees may receive an annual merit increase for work performance upon the recommendation of the appointing authority at the maximum of 5% per year until the employee reaches the top of the pay range for the position. The CTA Board will consider Mr. Peterson's performance as the Executive Director for the period of December 17th, 2021 to the December 16th of 2022, and will adopt the performance objectives for the next review period. So in your packet, you have the performance for last year, and David's going to kind of run through what we've been up to and what he's done, and then you guys will go through the objectives for this coming year.
All right, thank you, Chris. David, if you would go over the objectives for 2022, and then I'll open it up for discussion or comments. And
Sounds
then we'll
good.
go over the goals for
Great.
23.
Well, thank you, Chair Jones. First, let me just say, everything that you see here for last year and this upcoming year doesn't happen without the team of folks, less Zach, who's not here in the room, but I've got a great team of 6 people. They make all of these things happen, so I'm happy to take credit for all of their effort, if they don't mind today. So with that, we will go through the 5 objectives that were established last January. So objective number 1 was to finalize, in collaboration with the city, the integration of the arts and culture program into the CTA, including the creation of a Carson City public art policy, as referenced in the city's arts and culture master plan, as well as cultural mapping for visitcarsoncity.com. So we had a June completion date on that, and I broke this one down into each of the components. So the Carson City Arts and Culture Strategic Plan 22 to 26, that was completed in February of 2022, and it was approved by the Board of Supervisors on April 7th, 2022, and huge credit to Deborah for orchestrating that work. In conjunction with the new Arts and Culture Strategic Plan, a cultural asset map project was initiated to identify the different arts and culture assets here in Carson City. The database for that cultural mapping, that was completed in June of 2022. The GIS mapping part of that, as far as the data is concerned, was completed in December 2022. That's Michael Baker and Associates, who Deborah has been working with on that. And we're now in the process of integrating that into the visitcarsoncity.com website. So there's some technical stuff that I think has to do with iframing that we're working on, some resizing on the Visit Carson City website to accommodate that. And then the last piece of this was the public art policy. So that was prepared, with Deborah's wonderful help, and that was approved by the Board of Supervisors in September of 2022. The second objective was to execute the CTA's first integrated creative brand campaign. So we had a June completion on that. And I'm happy to say that we did. We launched the first ever integrated brand campaign in June with a digital and a social media campaign. And if you all recall, that followed some extensive qualitative and quantitative creative brand and concept research. And we chose a campaign that was rooted in nostalgia, if everybody recalls on that front. And then in July, our first official commercial was completed, and we launched that through the different digital channels as well as over-the-top television as well. So it's an update on number 2. Number 3, update the 2005 room tax policies and procedures. We had a September 2022 completion date. And on this one, basically, we are still in the process. And we need to be able to reflect some of the changes that are currently underway with the various documents that end up actually guiding that policy. So you will see on the objectives for this upcoming year, we'll come back at that and finalize the CTA's room tax policy. Number 4 was to launch 2-band Wango passes. We had a December 2022 completion. So Lydia was kind enough to take the lead on this. So we had our Hungry Hikers and Bikers Pass. So we launched that one at the end of January 2022. And then we launched the Carson City Triathlon Pass in June of 2022. So both of those are still up running, and we are promoting those at present, and they're doing very nicely. And the last objective was to develop a 5-year calendar 23 to 27 strategic visitor experience plan. We had a December 2022 completion date on that. And in just a little bit, we will actually get into our strategic visitor experience outline and guidance document. And we did complete that last month. And of course, be presenting that here today in front of the board. So that's a update on the objectives that were established for me last year, and happy to address any questions.
Any questions from the board about any of the outlined objectives for David in 2022? Hearing none. David, why don't we go to the goals you've set for 2023?
Great, okay. And the chair and I, we sat down last month and crafted 7 goals or objectives for this coming year. The first one, as I mentioned, is to get that 2005 room tax policy updated, and we will do that by June to coincide with the start of next fiscal year. So we've got a June 2023 completion on that. The second one is to host a first ever rugby match as a special event here in Carson City. And we've got a July 2023 completion on that. Number 3 is to organize a first ever, in conjunction with the city's Arts and Culture Recreation Program, Mural Festival here in Carson City. And we have an October 2023 completion date on that one. Number 4 is to host a first ever Ford Bronco Super Celebration special event, also an October 2023 completion. And then number 5 is something that, full credit here to Chris. We are working on this, is to get our personnel policy updated. This is also a very old policy that the CTA has. And so Chris has been working diligently on this, but we're going to give ourselves this calendar year to get this done, get it done right, and bring that forward. Number 6, leverage a data analytics platform to better understand the success of our events and the associated visitor experiences to ensure event support and marketing investment aligns with the intended visitor experience. I'm very excited about this one. We actually just had a kickoff meeting with a company called Datafy, and I'm happy to say that this is actually something that is grant funded through Travel Nevada. I think this is going to be a game changer for us. And again, you'll see when we get into our strategic visitor experience, we want to be data informed. We want to be research led. And this program that we'll be implementing will benefit not just Lydia, but Stu and Deborah. So all 3 of our programs will be able to take advantage of this new analytics platform. And we've got a December 2023 completion. We're in test mode basically between now and June. There'll be some credit card data elements to this as well. And then I actually would love to see us take advantage of an opportunity with our advertising and tying that into this analytics platform. But that's something that we would look at as kind of like a phase 2, I guess, starting in July. So I'm excited about number 6. And then our last one, this is a fantastic one. Create and implement an international PR marketing campaign to promote the Cap to Tahoe Trail Challenge to Mexico and Canada. So Lydia came up with what I think is a super idea, was talked about a little bit at the Trails Transportation Symposium by Greg Bergeron, who made a comment about when we finish Cap to Tahoe, that somebody could actually start on the steps of the Capitol and make their way to Canada or Mexico. And Lydia took this a step further, where we want to create a challenge. and open this up internationally here to bring folks into Carson City. And we'll figure out the specifics around this. I don't want to give a lot away, but I think this has a really cool international appeal, and I think it puts us front and center from a trails perspective internationally here in Carson City. So I'm super excited about this one, but I don't want to give a lot away just because we're in the early stages of this one with our wonderful team at Parks Rec Open Space. So those are the 7 objectives for this coming year for me. And I'm happy to answer any questions on those.
David, I know you were very specific onto the new events that you plan on bringing, or the team plans on bringing this coming year. And I think we had talked about is it better to be maybe not specific because events can change quickly, especially when you have them out there and posted in public that you're going to have them. But I think I like the idea of trying to create some excitement because these are very different events that we're not used to seeing in Carson. So I don't know if anybody else has, could you list that as maybe 3 new events?
Sure.
But I don't know.
Something more generic, like, we'll look to bring 3 different types of special events to Carson City. I'm happy to do that. Yeah, I shared that concern with Mike just because ultimately, I plus the team, we don't always control these outcomes with the different sports promoters and sports owners. And obviously, some of these don't take place for another 9.5 months or so. But I'm happy to, if the board would prefer to have a more general statement about, bringing 3 new events or something along those lines without being super specific, that's fine with me. My point for just showing the board is the team has really taken to heart diversifying the type of special events that we want to see here in Carson City. And in some cases here, we are being sought out by these different event owners and these different promoters because of what they see happening in Carson City. And all of these are, I think, super exciting. And it's their first ever, everything that's on this this document. So, but yeah, please, however the board would like that to be reworded, I'm happy with whatever is decided.
Anyone have any comments or discussion on goals and objectives for David in 2023? Supervisor Giomi?
Thank you. I don't know, can you hear me okay? I'll speak up a little bit.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike, about being a little more generic with those 3. I'm good with that. And I'm wondering if we can come up with an add to just, and I don't quite know how to phrase it or how to make it a goal, but I would like to see at some point during the year, either a report on the progress of integration between the city's new arts and culture position and the CTA, and just so that we don't lose that integration. Maybe something, I don't know if we do a joint meeting with the Cultural Commission and the Parks and Rec position, or I guess I'll just throw that out there and see if David, you might have a thought on that.
Stacy, that's a great idea. And I actually spoke to Stephanie over the holidays, and we talked about, not necessarily with the Cultural Commission, but what we spoke about is for Deborah and I to get together with Jen, Dan, Stacy, and Stephanie on a quarterly basis, with the idea being the document in front of us is the city's arts and culture strategic plan. And almost looking, because I think, Deborah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think there are 36 or 38 objectives on that. 20-something are shared. I don't know, there's 6 or 8 or whatever that are just specific to the city, 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever it is that are specific to the CTA. And we thought it would be important to just get together and see, okay, for those that are unique to us, where are we at on these? For the city, unique to them, where are they at? And then the collaborative side of it, for those other 20-something, where are we at together? That way we don't get into a situation where we each think the other is working on something when we may not be. And so that's something that I spoke to Stephanie about, is just doing a check-in, perhaps maybe the last month of each quarter, and getting together. And I don't want you to think, so Deborah and Sierra have been doing a wonderful job of meeting on a weekly basis, tackling
Okay.
certain things. So I don't want this board to think that there hasn't been that collaboration. They're meeting on a weekly basis, and then if they need me, they bring me in. And if Sierra needs Jen or Dan or Stacy or Nancy, those conversations are taking place on a weekly basis. But the
So
Cultural
maybe-
Commission might
maybe
be a
the-
good idea. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, maybe the goal, no, it's okay. I just, maybe the goal should be to provide an update on the progress of the strategic plan in September. Maybe
Sure.
maybe that's a goal.
Okay.
So you're meeting quarterly, and then, maybe in September you present to the CTA the progress you've made on those goals individually.
Yep.
I just don't want to lose that integration, and it sounds like you're not. So that's good.
And Stacy, maybe if I could, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but if I could make a suggestion, I'm looking at Deborah. If we do that in September, would that give you all enough time, you and Sierra enough time, where we could almost kind of say, here's the progress we made for fiscal '23? Would that work?
I think it would. I mean, I'm
Okay.
sure that there will still be some activities that will be taking place between September and December, but we will have a very clear idea of what those are by September.
Perfect. Okay.
Well, yeah, to your point, David, fiscal 23 ends June 30th of 22.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
23.
Fiscal 23 ends
Yeah.
June 30th of 23. So,
Yep.
so yeah, and the other thing it does is, if we do it in September, is it gives us as a board the opportunity to provide input to your goals and objectives for calendar year 24.
Yep.
So that was my reasoning for hitting September or October, either of those.
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay. We'll
Yes.
add that.
This should probably be an ongoing, yearly
I like that. Yeah.
goal,
Yeah.
because the positions are new and they're so important, that we know what's going on between them and what each is working on.
Yep. Consider it done.
Any other discussion, comments? Board Member Reynolds?
David, I'm impressed with the new projects, and like you say, they seem to have the opportunity for a lot of excitement to be attached, which is sometimes tough here in laid-back Carson City. So perhaps it's my relative newness on the board, but where do we stand on recovering or contacting or, seeing the different entities that conducted events here, be they regional sports events or whatever, and that we lost or at least didn't appear during the pandemic. Where are we on making a significant contact and seeing if we can recover those events?
So Stu and I have been working on this probably for maybe the last 2-3 months. Anything that takes place on Parks Rec open space facilities or land, we work with the Parks Rec open space team. And I want to say it was a couple months ago, we actually went through the entire list of event owners, promoters, the different events that have come through in the past. And to your point, that outreach has taken place. So Parks Rec handles a lot of that, and then anything that's endorsed by us where we have contacts, it's not a specific contact, let's say for maybe Scott or Dan or Dave, we do that outreach. And so that has been going on for the past couple months, I would say maybe even 3 months, for those that are our specific events. So like the jiu-jitsu, the sword fighting, Stu has been having that outreach over the past several months, as well as we try to line up the calendar for next year to get those folks either, yes, we're coming back, or we're going to do one event, or we're going to do 2 events this year. And so, Steve, that I can assure you that that outreach has already been underway, and it continues even up and through the schedule being released from Parks Rec Open Space. They send that to me, and then I actually provide that out to all, or Stu will probably do it this year, but we'll send that out to all the ownership groups of all the hotels, the GMs, the marketing folks. That'll probably happen at the end of January and February. So we're still reaching out to people just to get an assessment of, hey, you're going to bring 6 events here, like softball or baseball. We are going to, because of some of the issues with the field conditions, we're going to reduce some of the events to allow the fields to be renovated out there at Centennial. So that'll be one change for this calendar year, but I think it'll be good in the long run, so we can get those events to come back once we have the fields up and running and operational. So, but yeah, we kind of, to be quite honest with you, it's a never-ending challenge, right, to do that outreach to these different groups and events. And I mean, Stu is awesome at this, so he's working things literally through next calendar year. And so I can actually give you a couple of examples to directly answer the question. We didn't even know, but we've got Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coming back. And so Stu's working an angle on that. If you recall, we were supposed to have had a second event in the fall. It was delayed, but we're going to get these guys back here, hopefully, I think spring, Stu? Yeah. So, jump in, Stu.
Yeah, so that Jiu-Jitsu will be coming up again, and then the Battleborn Blades will have 2 events coming up for the calendar year, of 2023 as well. So we see a little bit more input, coming off COVID, more interest in Carson City, and more event coordinators willing to come to the area, to Carson to, have their events here at our parks and fields.
And Steve, we have, Stu's actually working on 2024 events right now, just to get ahead of the curve. So that we're kind of already in 2024 mode, right, on our end of things. And so.
Very good, I guess. So we have a significant list of entities that have been here before, okay?
If I could
And-
step in there, Board Member Reynolds, in fact, I have a list that Stu prepared for me not long ago of all the go-to people for the events that we've had over the last few years, just for that reason, so we can be reaching out, touching base, asking, if they're coming back, what are the issues if they're not, trying to get as much information as we can, along with looking for, turning over rocks for new events.
And specifically, Steve, with Parks Rec Open Space, it's actually an entire schedule that goes out. So once they complete it, comes back to me, and then we distribute that, I was mentioning, to the hotels. There's another piece to this puzzle too, and that comes by way of Exhibit A, and that lists out more generically. It doesn't have like specific contact information, but in our interlocal agreement with the city, every year Jen and I also update that document, and it lays out all the different tournaments or events. Again, that one's specific to Parks Rec Open Space facilities or land. So we kind of hit it in 2 different places. It's a couple different schedules, but one is specifically tied to the interlocal agreement, and that gets updated on a fiscal year basis. And I already sent that last month, so we could already be working on that for next fiscal year 24.
Thank you. I appreciate you filling me in. As I say, I see a lot of new stuff here, and kind of made me wonder what were we doing with some of the old stuff. So thank you.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for the question.
Any other comments or suggestions for Dave's goals for 2023? If not, I sit down every year and I think about what I expect out of David as the chair, and I always come back with 4 or 5 core I guess, points that I want to see out of him. One is, is he responsive to request from not only the board or the city, whoever, or the public? Does he have a coherent strategy, and is he a strategic thinker? Does he plan and manage the budget well? Does he motivate his team? And is he involved in the community? And for me, David checks off all those boxes. So for me, I would rate David as having an outstanding 2022, but I'll listen to other comments from the board or entertain a motion. Hearing no comments, Stacy, you want to? I think you're muted, Stacy. We can't hear you.
Thank you. I'll take a stab at a motion, and I'm in agreement with you that I think he checks all those boxes, and I think a reflection of David and the whole CTA is not just David's success, but the success of the CTA in totality, and all of the people that are there, and all of the work that they do in a cohesive fashion. So, I think that speaks a lot to his leadership. I think it also speaks a lot to the dedication that we have in the staff that work for the CTA. And we're lucky to have all of them. I would move to recognize David's performance as outstanding and grant a 5% merit increase. Further, I would move to accept the CTA objectives and completion dates as presented, with the addition of a report in either September or October on the progress of the actions in the Arts and Cultural Strategic Plan.
I'll second that motion.
All in
And
favor?
let me make let me make one correction.
Sure.
The other change to the objectives is to combine and delineate the special events as 3 new special events, as opposed to delineating those 3 in items 2, 3, and 4.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We move on to item 11, discussion and possible action regarding and presentation of Visit Carson City's strategic visitor experience outline and guidance. David?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, everybody. I appreciate your feedback, and thank you so much. It's very nice to work for a wonderful board who fully supports what I'm doing and what the team is doing, so I'm grateful for that support from each and every one of you. So, well, you guys, this has been something that we have bandied about probably for about a year and a half. It goes back to some conversations that we had in the office I have to say 2 summers ago, summer of 2021. And we think as a team, it's super important to have this strategic visitor experience outline and guidance document, because organizations like ours, we're competing at the strategic level. And to compete at the, thank you. At that level with confidence, we need to establish a hierarchy of our priorities. And as I'm talking through this today, this is a very different way to think about strategic planning, because this document is not about Visit Carson City or the CTA, right? It's not something where we're checking boxes that says, oh, we're going to have a media plan and we're going to purchase this, buy that, do this. We want 20,000 website sessions a month, right? This is all about the visitor and the experience that we want them to have here in Carson City. So I'm going to hit the high level, if that's okay, Chair. Lydia, will you go to, second page. So along those lines, again, we're working on protocol here to establish priorities. So staff recommendations, of course, the board's guidance and what the board would like us to do. I appreciate all of that, and what we're trying to do is overall, directionally, we want to work toward formalizing sort of strategic, tactical, and operational aspects of this organization. And if you all recall, each of these documents has come before the board in some iteration, probably within the last year, year and a half. And so I just want to remind everybody, we have our guiding principles, right? Where we talk about our brand position, our brand pillars, right? We have audiences that are associated with that. Every fiscal year, we have a communications plan that we put out, and that guides all of our communications. It guides our media buys as well, what we're doing with influencers and PR and activations, like the Luke Combs concert. We also have our data-informed special event strategy, and that we'll get into that a little bit later. But we have that document, and that gets into the specific tactics, right, of what Stu's doing, what Deborah's doing with events. And then we also are using the Carson City Arts and Culture Strategic Plan, which we've just talked about a little bit earlier in the meeting. And then I think the other document that's been wonderful for us is the Creative Brand Campaign, the ad copy concept research as well. You know, we spent, I don't know, about 6 months, I feel, on that research, and it started actually with an initial piece of strategic briefing as well that led into that. We have our media plan that you all see in June, so that gets into the specificity of the mediums and the channels, what we're doing with the influencers. And then we have our domestic visitor profile as well, and that's courtesy of Travel Nevada and working with that team. And then we also have our program expenditure budget. So I think what I would say here is this document, again, it's all about just how we formalize our strategic, tactical, and operational aspects. And again, we have a lot of documents that you all have been a part of, which I'm grateful for, and been able to provide us input and, you know, what you want to see us do as we move forward. So I just want to put this in context in terms of what the current document is relative to the other documents that have been presented. So Lydia, will you go? Yeah, thank you. So then we get into competitive advantage, and I think this is critical. These are the most meaningful and competitive ways that Visit Carson City can win to inspire all travelers to stay overnight in Nevada's capital city while creating economic development and benefiting the community, businesses, visitors alike. So I won't read everything on the slide, but you kind of see it all starts with data and research and listening to our visitors, and then we'll filter that down, as it says, how are we going to do it, the resources we need, and why is it important, right? I mean, if something's not important and we're not, you know, going to get out a goal and objectives, why are we doing it, right? And so that's my challenge this year to the team as we build budgets and put budgets together. So Lydia, will you? Thank you. So again, we are the voice of the visitor as Visit Carson City. And I think this is such a critical element. I won't read everything that's on this page, but research suggests that we can compete from the strongest vantage point when we understand the mind of the travel consumer, and when they orient policy towards establishment of things the travel consumer wants, such as frame time in the destination as something experiential. So I want to see us, you know, move beyond quality of life. I want to get into this idea of transformative experiences and, you know, really get into that quality of place. And I think we're at a great tipping point right now where we can try to guide the experiences from our visitors. One thing that you see on this page, I'm not suggesting, again, we create a DEI policy. I'm not suggesting as the DMO we create a sustainable and responsible recreation policy. Let's let the visitor tell us what's important to them from a DEI perspective, from a sustainable and responsible recreation messaging standpoint, and then we can react accordingly. So again, I'm not trying to establish policies or anything like that on behalf of the board or on behalf of Visit Carson City. We'll listen to our visitors and what's important to them, because we cannot be all things to everyone all the time, right? So Lydia, if you will, thank you. So again, on the research side of things with the travel consumer. Again, I talked about experiential travel products, services. I think we have amazing attractions here. We have the only functional coin press in this country. We have Stewart. That's amazing. So we already have competitive advantages in terms of our assets and our attractions here in Carson City. And we just need to bring that out a little bit more. So Lydia, go ahead on the next one. So here, I guess my point on this slide, what I would say to everybody is when our stakeholders participate in maintaining that traveler trust, and when the organization offers ways in which the stakeholders can participate in delivering on that trust, we win. Everybody wins. And at the end of the day, again, if we're looking at this through the lens of the visitor, I think that's going to be critical mass. And stakeholders and getting the board involved, getting our tourism partners involved. We do a great job. I think the team does a wonderful job working with the city and the different departments. And so I'm excited to continue that forward. And what I would say on the advocacy side of things, it is truly our responsibility. We need to convert and interpret what the visitor experience is into guidance and feedback, not only for us, but for our stakeholders, again, to allow our visitors to have the best visitor experience that they can have when they come to Carson City. And that's all built on trust. You know, that starts from the moment you come into the destination, the moment you interact with that hotel front desk person when you're checking in at a hotel or a motel, all the way through everything you're doing in the destination. Lydia, thank you. So these are some suggestions in terms of competing priorities. And so, you know, obviously we're limited budget, right? So we've only got so many dollars. And I'll talk through each one of these. So we're going to talk about right events at right time, connection to Lake Tahoe, the Welcome Center becoming a place where travelers visit before they leave the destination, and then training and customer service. So Lydia, will you go? Thank you. If you think back to our special events, our data-driven special events strategy, this is the critical mass for us. It's the right events for Carson City at the right time of the year. Everybody knows that we do not really need any additional new events in the summer. What we need is to figure out the other times of the year where we do have available rooms and to look at these new events and bringing them into different times of the year. And we've even had conversations with some of our existing events about shifting when they are having their event, right? And changing up the timelines around when those events can happen. And there's a little bit in here about, you know, getting into planning cycle. Again, that's more on the team side of things, but we are going to own this idea of making sure that authenticity in everything that we do from a special event standpoint, and it makes sense, right, to bring an event in, and it could apply to other things, groups, you know, tour operators, et cetera. So this is our first potential priority is right events, right time of the year. Lydia, will you? Connection to Tahoe. We have one of the most amazing, beautiful places in our own backyard. And as I always say when I'm out there talking to people, 6.2% of the lake is in the consolidated municipality of Carson City, which most people do not know that, don't realize that. I know we have the smallest share of the lake, but we want to start to own that from a geographic standpoint, from a geo-proximity. Owning not only is part of Lake Tahoe in Carson City, but we can be the center point of your Lake Tahoe experience, as it were. So this is something that we've already started. We actually took this on coming out of the pandemic, basically July forward, right? We're really starting to get that messaging across, and I think we're a wonderful place to start out from, to head up to the lake and come back down and enjoy a bite to eat and stay down here in Carson City. So connection to Tahoe, we are going to stick with that moving forward. Okay, this one I am really excited about, you guys. So the idea here is to have a theme for our visitor center, our welcome center. Basically, come to our building. We want to create it as an attraction to celebrate the things you did while you were in Carson City. The emphasis on celebration. So how do people celebrate? Well, they take pictures, they create memorabilia, they decide if they want to pursue the activity at a more involved level or simply continue their passive enjoyment. Either, we don't care, perfectly fine. And I'll just give it a quick example. Maybe travelers go on a hike while they're in the destination. Doesn't mean they're avid hikers, but it may mean they always wanted to hike and Carson City provided the perfect opportunity to do so. So imagine a facility where visitors give testimonials, not reviews, of what they did with the following prompt. And I'll quote, "There are some people considering this activity. What would you say to them? Should they do it? What should they know?" So I want to make the conversation, kind of take off when we make it more about what the facility itself can be. So I think we have, again, a great opportunity. Use the Welcome Center. People can come there and brag about their trip, their experience, and it may include our surrounding destinations. Fantastic. That doesn't concern me at all because this would be a place that helps them to be the best braggers in the world. And it helps them celebrate their visit and the things that they did and how it made them feel. And I think it allows them to remember us as a place that they had a great time in, right? And so this gets quality of life, starting with the transformative experiences, getting into that quality of place. And it's all going to be free. So I won't get into a lot of specifics. I'll just mention the idea of having some activations, a high-end photo printer, where maybe they can print the photos from their trip or leave one, post it on the wall, take one home with them. We've also talked about what's the 3D printer, where they may be able to print a tchotchke or something along those lines. So I won't go any further on that one, but I think we have a really cool opportunity to reimagine our space, our facility. So that's all I'll say on that one. And then training and customer service. Travelers don't seek additional sources of information and a desire to have experiences. They trust those sources closest to them. And I've got an example here. Coming into the front desk, as I mentioned, if people don't know what there is to do or see or can't answer the question, the traveler associates that lack of guidance with a lack of existence, as I kind of put it here. And I think we need to, again, trust. We need the training to match their high level of trust they expect when they're talking to people. I used the hotel front desk as an example, but it could also be the security people when you come into the museum to pay for a ticket, right? It could be somebody at a gallery. It could be somebody at a park if you're coming here for a sports tournament. What I will say on this one is we don't have the staff, and I'm not suggesting we're going to create an entire program on training. What I will say is Travel Nevada, through a couple of new programs that they will be launching, will actually provide this opportunity not just to DMO staff, but also to the tourism partners in the different communities. And I want to tap into that, and I want to help facilitate the team, and I want the team to help facilitate those connections. Again, I think this is a wonderful opportunity for us, and I think it's something that we need to have up there from a competing priority standpoint. And when people come into our destination, no matter where they go, they're asked, "Hey, what's a great restaurant? Hey, what's this? What's that? Where can I go on a Saturday? Which museum's open on Tuesday?" I want people to be able to, or at least give you the resources to get to the answer to that question. Instead, I don't know, right? And saying I don't know. So these are, Lydia, the 4 competing priorities that I've kind of laid out in this document. This is different. It's a different document, I would say, to the board. Most DMOs are still kind of under that strategic plan for the organization. And again, it's all about check boxes, right? For me or for individual program members or board members. I want us to think a little bit differently. I've challenged the staff. We need to evolve. Our visitor, the visitor has evolved. The visitor has changed in the general sense. And I think the visitor to Carson City has changed as well. And I feel like this gives us a leg up to meet their expectations. So with that, I'll be
It
happy to answer.
supports your strategic plan and the brand pillars.
Absolutely. Yeah, brand first, brand first the whole way through on this. So, and I can answer any questions. And again, it's new. So we're trying something here. jumping in both feet, deep end, and I don't have my snorkel kit on, but I think it's the right thing to do, and I appreciate the team for trusting me and supporting this. So, thank you.
Any questions, comments from the board?
Just would like to say that I really appreciate the emphasis on the visitor and looking at this from the visitor's perspective. I think that's um, it's a really interesting strategy, and I think it's really going to pay off. So I like it.
Thank you, Bobby. And the thing is, I would say the team has already been implementing these things that we're talking about in here over the past really year and a half at this point. And I know this is a different way of encapsulating in a document, but I've talked with everybody on the team and said, look, you've already been doing this. You've been doing this. It all ties back to what is included inside this document. Like I said, the lens is the visitor, and we're that voice for them.
I'll go ahead, Mike.
Well, I agree with Bobby, and I don't find it so strange. I mean, we should be looking from the visitor point of view. They're the ones that tell us, whether we're doing well or not doing well, and they vote with their feet and their dollars. So, to me, it's, action items that go with the strategic plan. Sorry, Board Member Reynolds?
There's some things about this that stand out, and you've already begun in various ways of increasing our knowledge of what visitors think or what they enjoy to hear. And I think any means to increase that and our use of it in marketing, of course, is going to have a lot of value. I like the thought of events at the right time. Timing is pretty essential, and it's easy to not only hold the event at the wrong time or at not as good time, but it's also to get the promotion a little off season and off the proper advertising season for an event. So I think that's good. As you bring up the, I guess you might call it friendliness or ability of people to offer the customer service. It's interesting. I know the chamber has a program that people go through. It can go through every year, about 20 to 15 people. I went through it so many years ago. I don't even remember the name of the program. I know it happens every year.
Lydia
Yeah.
just went through.
But anyway, and maybe we try this or we do it anyway, but maybe the CCT develops a certain amount of a training program that can be done either at the site or in a morning or something, or a couple of mornings or something, that people who are at that customer contact points could not only learn maybe how to improve how they do it, but also the importance of it. That might be followed up with or be part of something, and I don't have a solid framework to offer on this, but maybe some kind of response program or contest program that visitors could be part of, or maybe it's as simple as site or property managers or owners could offer recommendations for I don't know what we call it, but customer service contact of the month. And it'd be something that you probably promote in the local media so it maintains that top of mind awareness that it's important to the community. And we all recognize that recognition, employee recognition is often the most valuable thing that you can offer them when it comes to getting them action in the right direction. I am looking forward to learning more about the whole welcome center concept. I think that might be a little more, I think that might be a little more tricky as we continue to see, from the numbers you guys have shown, we continue to see people turning to the internet for more and more of their information and being very protective of their time. So again, I look forward to seeing what, because I think we do have those challenges ahead of you in what you do to create that type of atmosphere. So anyway, thought I'd give you those thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I love your idea on the recognition side of things, and I'm just thinking out loud without knowing exactly what's to come with Travel Nevada, but I'm thinking we piggyback on that and have something specific for Carson City businesses and, like you said, employee recognition. So that's something I will definitely bring up with them and see if we could have almost like a module that might be specific to Carson City, especially they're here, right, in the Laxalt building. It might be easy to implement something like that in conjunction with them.
It'd be something that the site managers would have to feel was valuable to their training program. But it seems to me that, I mean, I think it's relatively easy to see that being able to help people more in understanding what they should visit and why they're visiting here would promote future visits. So.
Any other questions for David? If not, I move to approve the Visit Carson City Strategic Visitor Experience outline and guidance plan as presented. I can get a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, motion passes. With that, we'll go on to item 12, monthly non-action items, presentation and discussion only. David?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the CTA board members for that support on our new plan. So the team has their smiley faces on. They're excited about that. So thank you again. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to 12A, Executive Director's update. I have 3 quick things to talk about. I wanted to give you all just a brief update on the V&T. So the ops team is working on our final Polar Express numbers, and I'll have those at next month's meeting. But I will tell you it was successful, sold out, high level, 6 weeks, 26 nights, 78 performances, and over 12,000 passengers. We actually had also, oddly enough, changing things around in the depot, just a lovely redesign of the space. And our merchandise sales went through the roof, believe it or not, this year. And so I'll try to get final merch sales as well, but I was blown away. And if you guys recall, we stopped taking people on the waiting list. I think we hit about 5,500 people, and then I just said to Allison, let's stop. This is madness at this point because nobody's getting on the train, really. On a not so positive note, Jim Wells, because of his new role in Governor Lombardo's administration, did have to step down. So I know here over the next couple of months, the governor's office will be taking applications to replace Jim. So just wanted to let everybody know we're operating as a commission of 4 for the time being. Looking forward, we just put the finishing touches on a deal to have a booth at April's International Trails Summit in Reno during the week of April 17th. And we are partnering with the wonderful Lindsay Boyer and Greg Bergeron on the city side, along with Muscle Powered. And it's a great opportunity, 600 to 800 people from throughout the world. So these are outdoor recreationists, professionals, trail builders, agency people, government people, business people, academics, and nonprofit outdoor recreation leaders from around the world will be descending on Reno, but then they actually have the opportunity to go out into local communities in the afternoons during that week. And Carson City is one of those communities. I don't know if it's on Tuesday or Thursday, but this is a really cool opportunity, I think, again, to put Carson City and the incredible trail system that we have front and center in front of these international people. So I'm excited about that, and I'll keep everybody up to speed on what's happening as we progress toward that summit. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention, so Lydia and I, we just received the full presentation deck from Hotel Beds. And as such, I'll have to send that out to the board later this week. Lydia has some of the summary information that she's going to cover during her presentation. But as far as the full report, I'm just going to email that out to the board this week. Lydia and I want to kind of take a look at it and everything. So just wanted to give a brief update on all things Hotel Beds. So happy to entertain any questions on those items, if there are any. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to 12B, transient occupancy tax, actual versus forecast. So that's the big sheet in your packet. We're looking at November. We're projecting, we had a handful of properties. Again, it's a timing thing, right, relative to when we have to put the packet out. Just over 1,741,000. That represented a 3.2% increase over the prior year and what our budget number was for the month of November. So I'm excited to see that, you guys. I realize that we came down off of the 26% increase in October, but just the fact that we had a record last November and we beat that this November, I'm pretty pleased with these numbers. So I'm not really changing anything, still looking outward. I know there's a lot of talk. We got a lot of things going on right out there. We're going to have a recession. We're not going to have a recession. I've been looking at a lot of data on inflation and its impact on hotel prices and what that may or may not look like for next calendar year as well. Everything I'm reading suggests or implies that hotel rates are going to come down a little bit relative to the rates that we saw during 2022. So right now, I'm just sticking with the numbers as they are. I don't want to assume, as you can see, we've got numbers all over the place here, right, for the first sort of 5 months of the year. So I hope everybody will kind of just be okay with that for right now until we see what happens here, because December, I don't know, may be an off month. Go ahead, Mike, if you want to say something. Sorry.
I think that's a wise strategy, just taking actual and projecting budget for the rest of the fiscal. Makes sense.
Great. Thank you, Chair. Are there any questions on the occupancy report? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to 12C, events and sales update. Stu, somebody other than me gets to talk. Hopefully everybody's awake on the WebEx.
Good evening, everyone. So we're just going to start with some updates going into the new year. We're going to start, as David mentioned, we do have rugby, and one of the concerns, the main hurdle for me was getting the approval from the school district. Everything there has been finalized. The school district has approved the use of Carson High School. The paperwork has been filled out and sent back to the school district. So that is all set, and it is set for the July 8th date. The time has still yet to be determined. We're not sure if it's going to be midday going into the evening, so we'll have to meet with the school district again and the league, the California League, to determine that. We've talked about the former players who are very famous overseas. They are looking to tour Carson City. Being down under, they're not used to the weather this time of year. So we are looking at mid to late March for the two main former players to tour Carson City, look at everything, tour the fields, tour the high school, and then we'll set the time and date. We are looking at a 3-year contract on this too. So this is very exciting, and they are working in place now to set this up for international television. And it's, like I said, it's going to be Team USA versus the Philippines. So the people I've been talking to at the rugby are very excited to be having this event and tournament in Carson City. So is there any questions about rugby that I can answer? And the next one is coming up next month. That is the Wild West Futsal Tournament. And I was going to let Steve talk about that. Steve, you there?
I am. So basically wearing a couple hats. I'm also on the board with the local soccer club. And futsal is a form of indoor soccer. And in the vein of what David spoke of earlier, with the right events at the right time, we birthed this selfishly to give kids an opportunity to play the sport without having to travel and assume the costs that come with this. But we also did it because we knew that there aren't a lot of things going on in Carson City in these type of in this time of year. So basically what we're looking at, we're into our third annual. The first one was just post-COVID, and it was really hard to get any kind of litmus test with that. It grew a little bit last year. We're anticipating about 30 out-of-town teams this year, maybe more, minimum of 30, 8 to 10 players on a team. Of course, that brings 8 to 10 families. So you're looking at 240 to 300 room nights on a one-night stay, 480 to 600 on a two-night stay. And what we tried to do is strategically make the schedule so that the teams that are traveling play a game early Saturday morning or late Saturday night to promote that two-night hotel stay. The event's held at the MAC, and I think also in the vein of what David was talking about with what his team is putting together, I firmly believe that this event has promoted residual visits. We've had people that have come over from Sacramento or the Bay that fell in love with the area, didn't know anything about it, and now like Carson City. And I've had not many, but a handful of people mention to me that, they'd stayed in Reno in the past to go to the lake or stayed at the lake, and now that they've discovered Carson, they'll use it as a future spot when they travel to the area to enjoy the lake. So any questions on the event or what the outcome we're hoping for should be? Well, then that is my synopsis.
Quite a increase in teams, so from the last event. So that was great to see. It's gaining popularity.
And
It is, and we actually had one club that wanted to bring 18 teams, but we couldn't accommodate them because we didn't have all those age groups for them. But the sport is growing in popularity as well, so it's twofold.
also what is really nice is great exposure for Carson City in our shoulder seasons. When there's not much going on and we have our weather, that events, special events, sporting events can be held in our area, not totally outside. So with the MAC, that really helps us a lot. And I have sent out RFQs to all the properties. I've had some responses. I sent it out before Christmas, sent it out again as a reminder last week, and I'll send it out again. Because I know everybody coming off the holiday is very busy at the hotels. So a lot of times it takes a few reminders to get that going. But we are getting some responses for the RFQs for that, so. Any other questions?
One last comment I would add in there for the whole board, but in particular board member Reynolds. Stu has already put together a survey that will be going out electronically to all the participants after they arrive home. And so it'll just be more of a database for what we talked about earlier as well.
And next for me is my next trip coming up is the ABA, American Bus Association. That is the first week in February. And tonight is actually the last night for closing for my direct request. There are 75 allowed maximum appointments that you can request, which I have made, excuse me, 75. And then at this time, there's about 20 that have requested me, which is pretty good for being a little bit early. So, like I said, and it's going to be cold in Detroit, but thank you, David.
You've been looking forward to this since they announced last year where it was going to be the following year. So yes, Detroit, February.
So, yeah, I will have more requests coming in, obviously as we get closer to the time of the show. So everything's set and I am ready to go. So that's all I have. Any other questions?
Any questions for Stu? Thank you, Stu. Yeah, this is great. Well, thank you for that update. We will go ahead and move on to 12D, Arts and Culture Update. Deborah Soul, take it away. If the cord reaches that far.
Thank you. So my update, I wanted to cover two areas with you today. One is to talk a little bit about the 3D Destination Development Program. That is the Cultural Corridor Project. And secondly, to give you an update on the Mark Twain mural. So at last month's meeting, I briefly mentioned that we had received the news that Carson City's destination development proposal has been selected to participate in Travel Nevada's new 3D development program. The program invited rural Nevada communities to submit proposals to enhance tourism outcomes in their areas, with a preference given to proposals that involve partnerships or collaboration across multiple entities or areas. The awardee kickoff meeting was held on December 15th, providing us with some more insight into how this program will roll forward. So 6 proposals were selected from across the state to be carried out in 2 32-week cohorts, they're calling them, after which all of these entities will be eligible to apply for a portion of the program's $2 million grant fund. And the first cohort will meet from January 23 to August 23, and the second cohort will meet from September 2023 to April 2024. The proposals were accepted from 6 communities: Boulder City's Chamber of Commerce, the Carson City Culture and Tourism Authority, of course, the Friends of Black Rock High Rock, Lincoln County, Nevada's Indian Territory, and White Pine County. And we have been placed in the second cohort for this program. So our proposal is to introduce a region-wide cultural corridor as a marketing and collaboration platform that ties together arts, culture, and heritage destinations in Carson City, Virginia City, and Carson Valley under a single brand and collective destination identity. So superimposing an overarching regional brand around arts, culture, and heritage destination serves a number of purposes, but it definitely helps to magnify visibility for visitors so that it can become a destination in itself. So this project is really about investing in the region's numerous arts and cultural assets to make each of them more visible and to improve the overall regional coordination of arts, including training and customer service activities and the scheduling of cultural events and program. So there's multiple spin-offs that will come from this endeavor. So all second cohort awardees have been assigned a partner from the first cohort. We're working alongside the Friends of the Black Rock High Rock, and advising consultants have also been assigned to each of the awardees, and we're going to be working with Carl Robato and Mitch Nichols. Although we're in the second cohort, we're invited to join the first cohort partners meetings just to listen in, to gain some insight into the process, as well as having more time to build relationships between the two destinations and having the opportunity to get, I think, a leg up on our project for the next round, for the second cohort. So the first meeting is scheduled for the second cohort to take place on February 23rd. And I'll be able to tell you more after that. And an update on the Mark Twain mural project. The mural panel for the Mark Twain mural has reviewed all the submissions and has selected Jamie Vincek's proposal for this mural project. This is an illustration of her proposal. It definitely caught the eye of all the panel members as something that would also catch the eye of our residents and visitors. Jamie is a Nevada artist with a strong history of murals that have been installed throughout Nevada, and she has experience in creating murals on aluminum panels, which is the material that we're going to be using this time. The commissioning contract with Jamie is currently being prepared with Todd's assistance, and the artist will be undertaking the project on a fairly tight time frame to commence the aluminum surface preparation, and then the actual mural itself in her studio shortly. And the intention is to have it completed for delivery in early March, in line with our project timeline. That's it on those two projects. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Any questions for Deborah? Thank you, Deborah. I just would like to say we are very fortunate out of those 16 different applicants for the 6 projects to be selected. I want to thank the Travel Nevada team and the committee that evaluated those and the Nevada Commission on Tourism. We have a shot at $2 million upon our sort of cohort that ends in April of 2024, the 6 projects. Have the opportunity to go after $2 million. There's no match required. This is, I think, a wonderful opportunity, and Deborah did a fantastic job with this application, to be quite honest with you. And it's a concept, but I'm happy to say we have the city on board here, the Brewery Arts Center, the Virginia City Tourism Commission is on board, Story County is on board, St. Mary's School for the Arts is on board, we have Douglas County on board, we have the Carson Valley Arts Council on board, we have the Carson Valley Visitors Authority. So we have some great supporters, commitment people to make this happen. So this is, I think it's a game-changing opportunity for, as I like to call us, sort of the trifecta, the triumvirate of the high desert here, for us to work together and create a really cool, unique branded experience. So more to come on this, and we have the luxury of being, as Deborah said, second cohort, so we can kind of see where things go off the rails during the first cohort, and of course correct and adjust and everything. So that benefits us quite nicely. So thank you on that one. Let's go ahead and move on to 12E, Marketing and Public Relations Update. Lydia Beck, take it away, please.
All right, thank you. We've got a few things on the docket today. For the sake of time, I'm going to dive right into our first one, which is our December PR report. I really also wanted to give you an update, obviously, of this month, but also a recap of our 2022 year. But to start with the December report, we had 2 wonderful articles, Leanne, from Robin O'Neill, who we hosted this summer. And we saw some great numbers from her publication of over 401,000 unique visitors per month on the publication that she puts her articles on. And of course, our publicity value is a little bit lower than what we've seen in the past, but we're still already have met our goal in the first half of the fiscal year. On this slide, I wanted to give you a calendar year highlight reel of 2022. So mind you, this is between 2 different fiscal years, or so we're splitting those. But KPS3 has just done a killer job this calendar year, garnering some incredible publicity value for us. We've reached over 1.42 million people in 2022 with news about Carson City. Stewart Indian School was a major contributor to this. So I just want to thank Bobby for being a great partner. We're very lucky to have you and to be able to be so open to hosting media that come through. I think you're a great example of a wonderful partner and how it can pay off. So to the right are some of our highlight stories from 2022, but you can see that we were featured in Forbes, Via Magazine, Reporters Travel, Outside Magazine, Associated Press, Travel and Leisure, and the Mercury News for some of those highlights. Dave before had mentioned hotel beds, and here's our final update. I am excited for Dave to send you over the full recap because it actually shows you what the landing page looked like and the true breakdown of what this campaign was. And I I was really happy to see these numbers because the only reporting that we get throughout it is this little box on the right and how many room nights that we have. And to be honest, there's so many more agents and tour operators that were reached in this campaign than I had ever anticipated. And so what I thought was not so much a great room night driver, and kind of thought it was almost a bit of a flop. This reporting really changed my mind. I kind of wish they would have gave us monthly updates, to be honest. So I'm hoping that if we do move forward with this again next year, we'll kind of see how that goes at Go West when Stu gets to go this year, which is where we picked up this co-op at. This is before he started. So we reached almost 90,000 travel agents and almost 6,000 tour operators. And you can see the open rate for the newsletter on that bottom box. And to the second column, you can see the clicks, the people who actually went on our landing page that was customized by me. So it wasn't just them picking information. It was videos that we sent them, photos that we sent them. And that was a beautiful representation of Carson City. I was really pleased with that. So they spent on average 14 minutes on the page for US travel agents and 10 minutes per page for tour operators. So
That's impressive.
right. So, though it wasn't a massive room night driver, we had 220 room nights. I would like to continue this momentum because this was the first time many of them were probably even hearing of Carson City. So just like Stu's position, a lot of his interactions are kind of a long game. I feel like this is the same approach and in that same space. So we'll definitely continue to monitor that and reevaluate this and see if this is going to be something we'll continue next year if they reopen that co-op. Because they did make it a potential co-op, but for a grant process through Travel Nevada, but we didn't receive any of this information yet. And given the cost of it, we decided not to participate because they needed 7 destinations to do it. And I don't know if they ever got that. And so I don't think that co-op went through, but if they do decide to try to offer it again next year, I will push to see that we probably will participate. So I hope you look forward to reading that report because that whole PDF breakdown was actually quite interesting. And here I wanted to give you kind of a snapshot of our 2022 marketing report. So there's a lot of data here. I just want to give you a summary of kind of what you're seeing on the next few slides. But on this one, what you're seeing is our Google Search Console. So it's our general search queries of what people are searching about Carson City online. So the bottom left box are the top landing pages people see from their search. And the right box is the search terms that they're looking for and what drives the most clicks to our website. So I can send you this as well. This is just something I wanted to kind of give you, but you can see that we had over 144,000 URL clicks and 13 million impressions. So one of the things that still baffles me is you'll see that July 4th spike and how many people are searching for fireworks here in Carson City. I was told many times now that that's almost the #1 search for all DMOs. It's not unique to us, but I find that really interesting and something that maybe we can try to capitalize on for the next years. But you can see that there's things to do. People are searching about the history in our historic capital more than I thought that they were. Our hotels are continue to be driven up there, the Kit Carson Trail. But really, people are searching for, things to do and about the capital. I was intrigued to see that Ferris wheel was up there. So it's just kind of interesting to see what's related. Next, we have a summary of our Google ads. So overall, our campaigns performed really well. Our conversion rates, which are lodging partner referrals from our website. Again, that's someone clicks on our hotels that are listed and goes to potentially book on our partner's website. You can see that we continue to make our hotels page our top 3, and you can see how well Performance Max is done. As we just launched that campaign in the fall, this data is for all of 2022. So you can see that's in the top 3 when it's only been running for 3 months. So we've allocated most of our dollars for search to be more towards Performance Max than anything else, which is a combination of all the things that we've done in the past. They just generate the ads themselves based off of the assets that we give them. And what you're going to see here is our geographic performance. It's sorted by conversions. What was really interesting on this was our top 2 cities for lodging conversions were Carson City itself and the Tahoe area before Sacramento and then Las Vegas. So what that's telling me is that people are finding us when they're in market, and perhaps traveling last minute, maybe they're skiing. We're going to try to dig a little bit deeper and to see what more information we can gather, because it's listing these by the conversions, meaning that they're looking for hotels. So it's people are maybe traveling a little bit more last minute in Carson City than we think. So this was really something interesting to find. And our highest search terms with Carson City are things to do, what to do, Carson City hotels, events, and visit Carson City itself. And then on the bottom box, you can see our top audience are those who are outdoor enthusiasts. So I think our content is tracking really well with our top performing audiences, or maybe that content is attracting those audiences too. So I think that's kind of a chicken and egg situation, but obviously that's an important thing to do here. This is a lot going on this page, but I wanted to give you a brief overview of our Google Analytics for user site behavior and a glance at our audiences on our actual website. So this is moving over to website information. I would still like to see our bounce rate lower. It did lower by 3.25% compared to 2021. And Zach is actually doing a whole website audit on all of our pages so that we can improve the quality of our pages to hopefully lower that bounce rate even more. The very bottom box with the green numbers is pleasantly how much we were up over 2021. And our top 10 pages on the home page for things to do, which is that box with the green on the right, is our homepage, things to do, hotels, events, the Kit Carson Trail. Number 6 is Nevada Day, then rail bikes, then the 4th of July fireworks, the Kings Canyon waterfall, even though we haven't done a single post about that event, about that waterfall at all. And then lastly, rail bikes again, which is what is found through our attractions page instead of the actual rail bikes landing page. And then that box at the far right are events that we're tracking on the page. So those are certain clicks and certain landing pages that we're tracking. And that top event is our Bandwango digital passes. We delivered almost 180,000 people to view that page. And we've had hundreds of signups, especially for the hungry hikers and bikers. This last one is our top acquisition channel. A reminder on the right that the green other box is our paid social channels. So overall, our organic search, our paid search, our direct input, and our paid social are our top drivers to our website. And in addition to our digital ads, of course, I wanted to showcase some of our print ads that we've done over the year. We have our billboard, of course, our Parks and Rec activity guide, Golfing Nevada Magazine, Carson Now Holiday Guide, Adventure Sports Journal, and the airport digital advertising, of course, which we've talked about pretty much at length. Any questions so far? So that's our 2022 recap. So we've got a lot going on and a lot of numbers. So I'm happy to send you any reports that you'd like to dive deeper into, because they're actually digital and you can interact with them. And so it's a lot easier to view on a computer than it is on a hard screen. But I want to just give you some overview on that.
I'd just say you've been busy. When you
It's
see
been
it,
fun.
everything that we've done in the last year, when you're in the middle of it, you kind of get lost, right? But at the end of the year, so nice job.
Thank you.
Mike, Lydia still has some time on Sundays, right? So we can grow, we can build on this.
Okay. Evenings would help too.
Well, great. Well, then I'll move on to the new content. So this is the sneak peek of our winter and our fall shoot. So Trespasser has come back to get some more assets so that we can swap those out to make our commercial seasonal. And we shot these out at Silver Saddle Ranch kind of right before Christmas, and they turned out beautiful. And the video is even cooler. So don't have any video for you yet, but I wanted to just kind of give you a sneak peek at the scenes that were captured in the locations that we shot at. Of course, more Silver Saddle Ranch. She was actually Miss Reno Rodeo in 2021. And then the other couple, her mom owns Jacob's Berry Farm in the valley. And so it's becoming a small community here. And it's been really, really wonderful to work with so many people who are willing to come out and help us out. So we've got some really cool stuff from that. This, you've kind of seen one of those shots before, but this is up towards the Cap to Tahoe Trail. This might technically be on the Lincoln Bypass, but definitely up that way, which was a beautiful shoot. And we also shot on the Kit Carson Trail. kind of doing a kids like bike scene in the fall when the trees were changing, which I think turned out really cool. I think the video of this is really, really neat. We also shot at the Nevada State Museum, and these just turned out beautiful. And I think I teased you with like fall leaves falling like confetti from the sky. That really happened. You can kind of see on the right there in the videos. I think that's just going to be really stunning. So the weather and the light and the trees were in our favor. So that's kind of the teasers I have for what we have to come for this swap out for the commercial. We probably won't have that finalized for you for a while, but just wanted to give you some idea of what we're up to. And then my last thing for you is that Zach put together an incredible video for hang gliding. And I'm not sure if a lot of people know, but out of the Carson airport is Hang Gliding Tahoe. And Paul, who owns that, has been an incredible partner for us because we've known about this for a while. The rack cards have been everywhere, all over for a long time. And I'm not really sure why we didn't reach out earlier. Maybe I think we just kind of thought it was so crazy that, you know, why we just kind of focused on everything else. But this is one of the most unique things that you can do in the country. And very few places do this. And it's right here in Carson City at the airport. So, yeah. Oh no. Okay. I'm not sure if IT in the back can help me with the audio here, but if not, I'm going to try to do this. All right, bear with me here. All right, we're going to pause for a second. Sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't. Okay.
While they're working on the sound, I would like to say that that video shoot was very stressful for everybody involved, going back and forth between, are the leaves going to fall off the tree? Is it going to snow? Is it going to rain? What is going to happen? But those images, I think, are fantastic. I, too, am looking forward to the video. And then I'll just let everybody know as well, with the grant we received through Travel Nevada, it also covered us for the winter photo video drone shoot as well. So more to come on that at subsequent meetings, but I really like what we saw for fall.
Do we need to take a break?
I don't think it'll. Yeah, I don't think it'll come through. So I can also email this to you too if that's what you'd like to do.
Yeah, I'll get a link out to the board members so you can see this for yourselves, but we're having an audio issue, so you want to just click the play and then
Yeah.
just let them see it. You can talk them through it.
See the world from a completely different point of view, where we can go up and go where we want to go and do what we want to do. Now, for me, it's the greatest thing in the world because what I get to do is show you the greatest experience of your life right here and now.
You made my stomach drop already.
I tell you, this is one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life.
I
And so
struggle in a plane in an enclosed tube. I don't think I want to be anything I can fall out of.
well, Paul, you can't bring anything with you. So no phones, nothing. He has GoPros on the wings, and he actually let Zach go up with a camera. And so we got some really unique, cool footage. So we're hopefully, and you can do it year round. There's heated suits and boots and gloves. And so I think to see it in the snow is even, could be cooler. So with that, I will wrap up so you all can have your evening. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any of them.
Thank you, Lydia. Any questions? All right. My wife got me this experience for Christmas. So you'll know if something went wrong because I won't be here for a meeting at some point in the future. But no, I think everything's going to be fine. I'm looking forward to it. I figure I've done skydiving. This thing's powered. Nothing can go wrong. What could go wrong? Yeah, nothing. Yeah, we'll be fine. It's going to be great. All right. 12F, future agenda items. Does anybody on the board want to see anything on next month's agenda? Anything to be added? Okay, seeing nothing. 12G, upcoming meeting, February 13th, right here at 4 p.m. in this building. With that, I'll turn it back over to Chair Jones. So thank you all.
All right, we'll move on to item 13. Any board comments or announcements or requests for information from anyone? Hearing
I would
none.
just like to say if I miss the next board meeting, it's because I'm walking to Columbia on the new trail.
Wait, did you say you're going to be in Canada on the new trail?
I'm just kidding.
All right, we'll move to item 14, public comment. Hearing none, we'll go to item 15 to adjourn. If I can get a motion. We're adjourned.